What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. I'm Dave, and today we will be breaking down the trailer for The Mandalorian Season 2.
This is Keith, and remember that if you like what you see here, give us a like, subscribe to our channel.
Also, use the Force to hit that bell icon to be notified of future content. By the way, I'm Doug, and wherever these guys go, I go. So spread the word throughout the galaxy, tell your friends, because after all, this is the way.
This is the way.
The trailer opens with what looks like a normal opening shot of the Razor Crest approaching a planet, but looking a bit closer, the back door of the ship is flapping around, the lights inside are flickering, and one of the engines is damaged, sparking as the ship floats through space. What happened to Mando's ship? To Mando? To Baby Yoda? And who's responsible? With so many parties chasing the child, it really could be anyone in the Outer Rim, or so we thought. More on that in a bit. I am sure Moff Gideon has put all efforts into recovering the asset. As Mando and the child walk into the light of a street lamp, we hear the armorer from episode 8 of season 1, where she said, and I quote, "Show me the one whose safety deemed such destruction," end quote.
Mando and the child are headed down a dark street in what looks like a rough, seedy city. There's graffiti on the wall, and even with the street lamps lining the street, it's incredibly dark. For a guy who is hell-bent on protecting this kid, Mando takes him to some pretty dangerous places. The female voiceover continues, "You must reunite it with its own kind." I don't think Yoda's hang out here, so is he working or is he following a clue to what Baby Yoda really is? We do see more of this planet later in the trailer.
I made a comment in some of our earlier Mandalorian reviews that I thought the direction of the series was going to be kind of reminiscent of like a D&D game or some fantasy JRPGs or even some fantasy anime like Goblin Hunter, which if you haven't seen it, you should check that out, where there's always a hunting or a bounty or a quest guild of some kind, and whoever the central hero is, they end up forming a party in order to complete said quest for money. And I'm beginning to actually think that the writers and the creators, what they did and what they might still be doing is sprinkling a lot of those elements from these genres into this series. But back to the breakdown. In voiceover, Mando asks, "Where?" We hear this as a Razor Crest flies over Tatooine, where we see a Tusken Raider roaming around with a bantha. And I gotta say, a ton of detail was put into this bantha, and I'm pretty sure this is the first time that we've seen them with their mouths open, which, I mean, we said this in our previous videos where we were talking about the amount of money that was put into the series and how realistic the practical effects were, and it looks like we're getting a lot more of the same thing. Now, I gotta ask, is this where we end up running into Boba Fett in Season 2? And will Boba Fett be after the bounty, or is he just really looking for revenge for Fennec? The female voice answers Mando, which also serves as an answer to our own question. This you must determine. So Season 2 might actually be all about running from all the groups that may be chasing him and gathering clues about what Baby Yoda really is and why Moff Gideon wants him so badly.
We now see an ice planet. Maybe it's Hoth, or maybe Ilum in the unknown region. This planet, Ilum, is natural forming kyber crystals, which the Jedi mined at one point, and in the Clone Wars, the younglings came to get their kyber crystals for building their own lightsabers. It's also the planet that was turned into Starkiller Base by the time The Force Awakens rolls around, so maybe Mando runs into some imps here, or the beginning of the First Order.
So I've got a different theory. Personally, I think this might actually be the moon that Ahsoka, Rex, and the other clones ended up crash landing on after Order 66 in that just beautiful end scene at the end of the Clone Wars.
During a series of shots, we hear the armorer continue. The songs of eons past tell of battles between Mandalore the Great and Order of Sorcerers called Jedi. As the armorer mentions the Jedi, we see Mando arriving at some boat docks, which appear to be controlled by the Quarren, the aliens who have been more commonly referred to as squid heads. They're from Moncala, the same planet where the Mon Calamari, like Admiral Akbar, come from. Is this dock on Moncala, or is it an area that the Quarren have adopted from another planet? Remember that there's a bounty on Mon Calamari in season 1 of The Mandalorian. Could Mando be working as a bounty hunter again and going after him?
Among the crowd on the docks, we see this mysterious hooded woman played by Sasha Banks. Now, it's no coincidence that the Jedi are mentioned as we see this character. Now, could she be a Jedi, or is she just a representative of those who might secretly still be alive outside of Luke and Leia? Don't forget, The Mandalorian takes place 5 years after the Return of the Jedi, a time when the Jedi themselves have largely come to be considered basically a myth. It's unknown what character this is going to be, but there's a lot of fan speculation that it's none other than Sabine Wren. And if she is playing her, the cloak could be to cover up her armor. She would certainly be a very helpful friend to Mando and the child, since they not only have similar enemies, but if you guys remember in Rebels, she was friends with several Jedi. And also at the end of that series, she did leave with Ahsoka.
I personally think that Sabine is looking for Mando, not because of Baby Yoda. I am sure the bounty on Mando doesn't go into detail about the asset being a Force-sensitive Baby Yoda, but because she knows that Moff Gideon has the Darksaber and looking to get close to him to get it back, kill him, or both. And once she sees the baby, she gets Ahsoka involved with it for all the Force-related stuff, because that's what Ahsoka's good at. As the mysterious woman suddenly disappears in the crowd, Mando asks, and I quote, "You expect me to search the galaxy and deliver this creature to a race of enemy sorcerers?" End quote. The armorer responds, "This is the way." The way apparently includes taking a boat from the docks above, where Mando and the child appear to be on a fishing vessel of some kind. Is this after their ship is damaged in the opening scene? Or maybe going to a Jedi temple of some kind that can only be traveled to by boat?
The next couple of shots might provide some insight as to how Mando's ship becomes so damaged. The Razor Crest flies in the middle of 2 X-Wings. Mando looks out at them, and as the starships lock their S-foils in attack position. They look like they were escorting Mando someplace, but the next scene makes it look like the New Republic might be after the asset as well. The X-Wings remain in the attack mode as they chase after the Razor Crest through some massive clouds. Could this be Bespin? The Razor Crest is moving fast to get away from these X-Wings. Is Mando in New Republic space? We get a quick shot of Mando flying away on a speeder bike. We've seen a shot of Mando sitting in this speeder bike with a child sitting inside of the satchel on board. We're assuming this is also back on Tatooine, but since we've seen a variety of sandy planets ranging from Jakku in the sequel trilogy to Arvala 7 from the first season of The Mandalorian.
Speaking of Tatooine, is this where we're going to end up running into Cara Dune and Greef Kargan again? I certainly hope so. The architecture definitely resembles Tatooine, but it could easily be Navarro, the planet where Mando met Greef in the first season. Could Mando be heading back to help his friends since Moff Gideon has probably brought more troops to really lock down the planet?
We see more Imperial troops and Moff Gideon's TIE fighter, and they look like they are getting ready for takeoff. We see one rising from the ground, maybe because Mando's ship was spotted entering the system. Stormtroopers running down a nondescript hallway, which is such a Star Wars shot. Giancarlo Esposito previously teased Moff Gideon being in command of a larger ship, and this shot looks to be said ship. Does he have more in his fleet? Scout troopers jump on their speeder bikes off a cliff and have zero problems landing them. What they're speeding towards, we don't know, but it's a safe bet that it has something to do with Mando or Cara Dune and Greef. This shot shows Mando in a bit of a hot spot as he rises up from water below a grate. Where is IG-11 to bust that grate off for him?
After getting a jetpack at the end of last season, Mando puts it to use as he blasts off a cliffside, looking just like the Rocketeer. As this shot appears, we hear a voice say, There's no place. This is no place for a child. The closed captions credit this line to a character named Gor Koresh, which isn't a name we've heard in Star Wars before as far as we can tell. Do you all know him? You should let us know in the comments below. Another quick shot takes us back to that seedy dark street from before, but this time Mando brings some light into the area. He's tied up someone under the street lamp with his gauntlet grappling feature. The light sparks after Mando appears to shoot it out after hanging this guy out to dry. Is this a bounty for Mando? Or maybe someone with some intel on Baby Yoda's history? Meanwhile, back on the ice planet, Mando appears to be carrying the child in his egg cradle as he walks it to a nearby narrow cavern. We're very curious about what Mando hopes to find here. Could it be the Jedi Temple? Maybe a Kyber crystal? It's another questionable place to take a child, but as Mando says in the voiceover to Gor Koresh, wherever I go, he goes.
The next shot is likely a shot that ends up following the opening of the trailer. That's a Razor Crest falling in a ball of fire through the atmosphere of a planet, but which of the two planets seen in the opening shot is that ship actually falling towards? Mando finds himself in another seedy location, which kind of seems to be a running theme here. It's a fighting ring where two Gamorreans, the pig-faced aliens seen as guards in Jabba the Hutt's palace in Return of the Jedi, are duking it out with vibro axes. This is where the Gor Koresh voiceover is coming from.
And finally, we see who Gor Koresh is, and it would appear that he's part of the Abscissan species, a cycloptic alien race that was previously spotted in Mos Eisley, Cantina, and A New Hope. The return of the alien species may be the doing of Dave Filoni, who previously introduced a character named Jakar Bowman, an Abyssian who worked in the Jedi Temple as a musician's expert in the Clone Wars cartoon. Koresh responds to Mando's voiceover by saying, "So I've heard." And Mando is suddenly drawn upon by three thugs surrounding him. Sounds like this guy is in the know of Moff Gideon and is not holding back on finding him. We see Mando lighting up his whistling bird's weapon. Baby Yoda sees this and quickly, and quite hilariously, closes his eggshell cradle to avoid getting hurt.
In darkness, we hear the scuffle of Mando beating up anyone who tries to mess with him. And we see the end of the battle where he takes out what appears to be a Dathomirian. That's the same alien race that Darth Maul hails from. And they can be quite formidable opponents, but Mando has no trouble taking out this one with a projectile to the chest.
Finally, we get one last hero shot with the Mandalorian rattling off what has become the show's catchphrase, "This is the way." So, I have to know, did we end up missing anything? Did you see something we didn't? Do you have any theories? If so, please leave them in the comments down below, and let's have a discussion about it. We have spoken.